Okay, today we're going to be actually creating these icons. We'll start with this battery icon here. We'll go over to the settings, then the messenger or chat, then the alarm or stopwatch, and then the photos. Notice that there are different layers for each item, and those layers are named. The tutorial is by Andrei Stefan from October 3rd of 2018. The edits are by Mr. Eric Metzner, that's me. They were done October 25th of 2018. The adjustments will be made according to the PDF tutorial. We'll start off by creating an artboard. The PDF tutorial states a width of 800 and a height of 600. So if you don't see this over on the right after starting Illustrator, please click on Web, and then you can choose to change the width and the height. In this case, 800, and then I tab to 600. The orientation will automatically switch to landscape there if it hasn't already. That's the little icon there. The bleed is all set to 0. The tutorial recommends that we stay in RGB color mode, so let's go ahead and check that with advanced options. You only have 2, so let's make sure RGB is selected, and raster effects are set to 72 pixels per inch. Even though you might be tempted to do a higher resolution, please don't, just keep it at 72. And the preview mode is set to default, even though we will be changing that later on. Normally the suggestion would be to change the untitled one. In this case, it's going to be your class period number. Let's assume that I'm doing this for second period. Your name, and then use the underscores, which is shift dash, and then icons is the name of the actual assignment. So we're all good there. We click on create, and then we have the basics here. So next we want to make sure that our workspace is set. We always want to start at this workspace switcher. You could do it from window right here and just go to workspace and do the same thing. I find it easier to work in the workspace switcher. Notice I have one preset already that I normally would use if I'm making my own graphic designs. So let's do one that we've done in the past. Let me reset that real fast. So when you first open this, it may have start right there, or it might say essentials or something else. So let's click on that button and go to Essentials Classic, please. And then if yours looks a little bit different than this, that's okay. What we want to do is, after choosing Classic, reset Essentials Classic. And your screen should look similar to this. Although I am using Illustrator CC 2019, 2015 is very similar to this appearance. There may be some subtle differences, but I'll make sure to say exactly what I'm choosing so it's easier for us to follow along. So once we have Essentials Classic and we've reset it, we now have this look. Notice that you have 2 little triangles here for these panels. To collapse a panel, you just click on those 2. To expand a panel, same thing, just click on those 2. For now, we want to arrange our workspace to get the icons graphics done. So to do that, I'm actually going to take out this panel here, this Properties and Libraries panel, by clicking on the top of it and moving it out like that. Notice that everything's together. I can do the same thing with any one of these panels. So this particular one, Libraries and Properties. This one right here is color and color guide, stroke, which is the outline, gradient, which is the inside portion that goes from one color to another, and transparencies. We're actually not going to be using those two for this project, but we'll leave them there in case you want to experiment later. We have appearance and graphic styles. Graphic styles we won't be using either, but appearance is going to come in handy for us later. We have layers, asset export, and artboards. To make sure that I'm following this correctly, I'm going to reset Essentials Classic once more so that it pops everything back over here. And then if you remember from the very first quarter when we did the angled wolf graphic, I had you set up a workspace like this, where we went to Essentials Classic, we went back to it and reset it. And then I had you come down here to the 2 white diamonds icon that signifies layers. And I said in class, choose that. And then we're going to move this panel that shows up here right here. See, it shows all of the things that are there. We're going to move this by clicking on the top of the window as if it were like a browser window so that we can manipulate these later. So I wanted to do this the same way that we've done in the past. Once that's out, we're going to be using it later as well. I want to expand this panel to show the stuff that we're going to need for the project. Color guides, swatches. We won't be using symbols nor brushes, but it's nice to have this here. Now, if you don't see any of this, it may be because your particular, let me find the right part here. Your particular preset or preference may be set up incorrectly. So let's check that real fast. File and document color mode. Make sure that it says RGB color. If you need to look further, you can go into setup and just make sure everything looks the same as when we first set it up, like editing the artboards here. I'm actually going to get back out of that. So I'm just going to hit escape on my keyboard, which is the top left side of the keyboard, ESC, escape. Once that's done, I'll also come here to view and make sure that I don't have overprint or pixel view turned on, or presentation, or any of these others. So if that's set, like if you see anything here that's checked, just make sure to uncheck it. For example, if I do this, notice how my artboard changed, and that means that I'm not going to have the same view that you do. See that it says pixel preview and it's checked. So uncheck that just by clicking on it again, and it goes away. Okay. Next, we'll go into moving these things around so that it's easier to do this project. So for this, I want to have my layers. Like I said, it's going to be separate. I have stroke, gradiency, brushes, symbols, all of those things are there. I'm going to grab properties and libraries and drag it out as well, the same way that I did the layers. And then resize this just from my preference so that I can move this around on the screen. The properties I'm actually going to put underneath where it says appearance and graphic styles. So my mouse, I'm dragging this all the way down to where I see that blue line horizontally on the bottom, and then I release it and it shows my properties here. And then I come over to the layers panel that I originally took out and going to put it on the side like that so that we can see all the layers. Control 0 is to do a full screen, and now we're ready to start. Before we begin, we need to make sure that we have done a save. So let's do a File, Save As. You're going to see a lot more over here than you have in front of you. But remember that we want to save this in your Pictures folder so that you can get to it later. The Pictures folder is a network folder, which means if you move computers or they change the computers in the room, you can still get to your work. Okay, so we'll save that. Notice I've done a couple of run-throughs here just to make sure that I was aware of what you guys were going to work on. I'm going to leave this in my lesson plans, but you guys are going to save it into your Pictures folders. You could also put it in Documents. That's fine with me. Just do yourself a favor and remember where you placed it. My recommendation to you is that you make a folder for this. So I'm going to do that right now by creating a new folder here. Might take a moment for it to generate it. There we go. And then I'm going to name it Icons Project because that's what we're actually working on. And then double click on it and I have it labeled second period, Metzner, Eric, and then Icons is the name of the assignment, and click Save. When this pops up, make sure that Create PDF Compatible File is checked. Embed color profiles and compression. I know it says it's 72 and only fonts with remote appropriate permission. That's fine. You can actually just click OK once these three are checked. 100% is here and Illustrator CC. For the next part, I'm going to break the video up so that it's not as long. I'm speaking slower than I normally do, but I want to make sure that everything seems understandable to you as you go through this. The next part, or the next video, is where we'll set up the preferences for the project and start with the layers by naming them. So next video, we'll start the actual design processes.